and for the second Saturday of September 2025. A few stray thoughts. And a few general remarks. And a few points of view. By way of a roundup of the week. All my own musings.
Like, a week of turmoil. Like, rain fury is receding but man-made havoc recedes after it has taken its toll.
Like, NDA's CP Radhakrishnan was duly elected and sworn in as the Vice President of India. Apparently, some MPs of opposition voted for CPR. But that's usual, isn't it? CP Radhakrishnan takes over as Vice President. CP Radhakrishnan is Vice President. Sudarshan Reddy's tally shows cracks in opposition. NDA candidate CP Radhakrishnan is the 15th Vice President of India, defeating his rival INDIA bloc candidate Sudarshan Reddy by 452 to 300 votes.
I, PC Modi, the returning officer for the Vice Presidential Election 2025, hereby declare that Shri CP Radhakrishnan, Jal Bhushan Raj Bhavan, Walkeshwar Road, Malabar Hill, Mumbai, has been duly elected to the office of Vice President of India.
अब तक तमिलनाडु के 3 उपराष्ट्रपति सर्वपल्ली राधाकृष्णन, रामास्वामी वेंकट रमन और सीपी राधाकृष्णन, जो तीसरे उपराष्ट्रपति तमिलनाडु से आज पद की शपथ लेंगे। आंध्र प्रदेश से भारत को अब तक 2 उपराष्ट्रपति मिले हैं, डॉक्टर जाकिर हुसैन और एम वेंकैया नायडू। राजस्थान से भैरव सिंह शेखावत और जगदीश धनखड़, मध्य प्रदेश से शंकर दयाल शर्मा और मोहम्मद हिदायतुल्ला, उत्तर प्रदेश से गोपाल स्वरूप पाठक, ओडिशा से बीडी गिरी, पश्चिम बंगाल से मोहम्मद हामिद अंसारी, केरल से के.आर. नारायणन, कर्नाटक से बीडी जट्टी, पंजाब से के. कृष्णकांत।
I, Chandrapuram Ponusami Radhakrishnan,
do swear in the name of God
do swear in the name of God
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of India
to the Constitution of India
as by law established,
as by law established,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duty
upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
Vote chori to hydrogen bomb. Vote chori in VP election.
Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, at the conclusion of his 1,300 kilometers voter adhikar yatra in Bihar, said his party will soon release a hydrogen bomb of revelations on alleged vote chori. He claimed the exposé will leave Prime Minister Narendra Modi unable to show his face to the nation. The India bloc allies joined Gandhi in Patna as the march was stopped by police midway.
मैं आपको बहुत साफ शब्दों में कहता हूँ कि मैंने इससे पहले भी कहा था कि राहुल गांधी का दिमाग चोरी हो गया है, और जब दिमाग चोरी हो जाता है तो इस प्रकार की ओछी बातें लोग करते हैं। अब मुझे बताइए, आप राष्ट्रीय नेता कहलाते हो और इतनी ऊंची बात करते हो, आपको राष्ट्रीय नेता कहलाने का क्या अधिकार है? और मुझे तो ऐसा लगता है कि जब किसी का दिमाग चोरी हो जाता है तो उसको इग्नोर कर देना चाहिए।
Like, Prime Minister is visiting Manipur. Let's hope he brings peace there.
The Beirabi-Serang railway line spans 51.38 kilometers through one of India's toughest terrains.
It includes 48 tunnels together stretching nearly 13 kilometers and over 140 bridges, both major and minor. Among them, bridge number 196 stands out soaring 104 meters high. It's taller than the Qutub Minar by 42 meters.
The Barrabi-Sairang railway line not only connects Mizoram's capital Aizawl to Indian Railways but also lays path for future expansion further south towards the border in Myanmar as India aims to complete one of its most strategic connectivity project, that is the Kaladan multi-modal corridor that aims to connect Situve port in Myanmar to Zorinpui in Mizoram, bringing crucial connectivity to northeastern states.
साथियों, मणिपुर की ये धरती, ये क्षेत्र आशा और उम्मीद की भूमि है, लेकिन दुर्भाग्य से हिंसा ने इस शानदार इलाके को अपनी चपेट में ले लिया था। थोड़ी देर पहले मैं उन प्रभावित लोगों से मिला हूं जो कैंप्स में रह रहे हैं। उनसे बातचीत के बाद मैं कह सकता हूं कि उम्मीद और विश्वास की नई सुबह मणिपुर में दस्तक दे रही है। साथियों, किसी भी स्थान पर विकास के लिए शांति की स्थापना बहुत जरूरी है।
You are watching Sanglikar's Weekly.
Like, a ropeway accident in Gujarat killed 6. Just when I thought such accidents happen only in India, comes the news that a similar accident happened to a funicular train in Lisbon. Like, top Maoist leader Modambal Krishna, who carried rupees 1 crore bounty, and 9 others were killed in Chhattisgarh anti-Naxal operation. I feel sad for these misguided souls. We fool you. IIT Bombay's Pyramid of Capitalism poster, mocking India's top leaders, ignites controversy. The poster presents a pyramid of capitalist India built on the backs of workers and farmers, echoing the century-old pyramid of capitalist system image, but with notable changes in who occupies the middle tiers. The pyramid of capitalist system is a common name of a 1911 American cartoon caricature, critical of capitalism, copied from a Russian flyer of 1901. The graphic focus is on stratification by social class and economic inequality. The work has been described as famous, well-known and widely reproduced. IIT Bombay sponsors an event on South Asian capitalism. Poster shows Amit Shah, Narendra Modi, and Yogi Adityanath with a caption, "We fool you." No Maulana or father shown, only a Hindu monk in saffron robes. Reactions accused the institute of crossing a line. Humanities and IITs was an epic blunder. Sitting government leaders are being mocked with total impunity at an institution funded with taxpayers' money, and our left libbies tell us there is no freedom of speech. Technical institutes should be immediately rid of the humanities. These scientific centers of excellence should be free of the poisonous leftist ideology. How could a government educational institution abuse the government this way? Do you have an explanation for such lumpen behavior of IIT Bombay? The money they are spending to sponsor such narcissistic event is our tax money, and we demand an explanation. In response to the controversial post, IIT Bombay clarified how the institute was unaware about the published flyer. Recap of the events last week.
K-pop!
U.S. President Donald Trump's senior trade advisor, Peter Navarro, has been on a spree of attacks against India, accusing New Delhi of profiteering from Russian oil imports and hurting American jobs. In his latest post, Navarro wrote, quote, "India buys Russian oil purely to profit. Revenues feed Russia's war machine. Ukrainians and Russians die. U.S. taxpayers shell out more." But this time, Navarro was fact-checked by X. A community note underlined that India's oil purchases are legal, sovereign decisions for energy security, and do not violate international law. It also called Navarro's claims hypocritical. Navarro didn't take the fact-check lightly. He lashed out at Elon Musk, calling the correction a crap note, and claiming India's government was running a propaganda spin machine. This isn't Navarro's first outburst. In recent weeks he has labeled India a laundromat for the Kremlin, made a remark accusing Brahmins of profiteering, and even called India the Maharaj of tariffs.
50% tariffs on India, 25% of them is the reciprocal tariff because of unfair trade, 25% is the fact that India is buying oil from Russia. So start with the reciprocal trade tariffs. The problem is that India literally is the Maharaja of tariffs.
The background here. Trump's administration recently slapped punitive tariffs on India above 50% on some exports. Hours after they came into effect, Navarro blamed India for fueling Moscow's aggression, even calling the war Modi's war. Donald Trump stressed he maintains a good relationship with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi but voiced disapproval of New Delhi's energy ties with Moscow.
You know, I've been very disappointed that India would be buying so much oil, as you know, from Russia, and I let them know that. We put a very big tariff on India, 50% tariff, very high tariff. I get along very well with Modi, as you know. He's great. He was here a couple of months ago. I always will. I'll always be friends with Modi. He's great. Prime Minister, he's great. I'll always be friends, but I just don't like what he's doing at this particular moment. But India and the United States have a special relationship. There's nothing to worry about. Just
Trump advisor Peter Navarro gets trolled by netizens after he rants against India on Russian oil trade.
White House trade advisor Peter Navarro had a meltdown on Sunday after one of his posts targeting India's Russian oil purchases was flagged with a community note on X. As usual, Navarro accused India of trading with Russia purely for profit or revenues to feed Russian war machine. But this time, X users fact-checked him, pointing out that India's oil imports were largely for energy, security, and not just profit, and that they did not violate sanctions. The note further highlighted that while India imposes tariffs, the US actually runs a trade surplus with India in services and continues to import certain commodities from Russia itself, calling Navarro's stance hypocritical. Fuming at the pushback, Navarro dismissed the note as crap and lashed out at Elon Musk for letting propaganda into people's posts. He doubled down on his accusations, claiming India only began buying Russian oil after the Ukraine invasion and was solely profiteering. Peter Navarro's flag post was the latest in a series of such allegations he has made against India over Russian oil trade, ever since the US President's announcement of 50% tariff on Indian imports. He was referring to a news piece by the Washington Post which said that the kind of language being used for India from Washington was worsening diplomatic ties. Before this, Navarro had used terms like Maharaja of tariffs, laundromat for the Kremlin, Modi's war in Ukraine, and more to target India. Trump's additional 25% tariff duties on Indian imports took effect on August 27th, taking the total tariffs to 50%.
A new week in new sanctions.
And US President Donald Trump acknowledges that the Russia-Ukraine conflict had proven to be harder to resolve than he anticipated. But we're also learning that more secondary sanctions on countries buying Russian oil can damage Moscow's economy. This is what the White House has said.
More secondary sanctions on countries buying Russian oil can damage Moscow's economy, says U.S. Treasury Chief Bessent.
Meanwhile, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that the Russian economy will collapse if Washington and the European Union impose more secondary sanctions on countries that buy crude oil from Moscow. So Bessent, in an interview, said that President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance had a very productive call with President of the European Commission, and who followed up with a call with him on Friday, and they discussed what the US and the European Union could do to put more pressure on Russia.
Are you ready to move to the second phase of sanctions against Russia or punishing Putin? How was your call with the Prime Minister of Australia?
We have some very interesting discussions. You know, certain European leaders are coming over to our country on Monday or Tuesday, and individually. And I think we're going to get that settled. I think we're going to get it settled. We have to. You can't lose, you know, when they're losing 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers a week for no reason, you have to get it settled.
You ever see two best friends break up? One day they're holding hands at the Taj Mahal. The next day they're subtweeting each other with trade tariffs. That's Trump and Modi for you. At first, Trump was doing what Trump does best, bragging. He kept saying he personally stopped India and Pakistan from going to war. Not once, not twice, like 30 times. He even claimed Pakistan nominated him for a Nobel Peace Prize, which, if true, means I've definitely been nominated for an Oscar for binge-watching Netflix. But Modi wasn't letting him steal the spotlight. On a call, Modi basically told him, actually, bro, that ceasefire, yeah, that was India's military flexing, not you. And when Trump tried to insert himself into the decades-old Kashmir dispute, like some kind of global marriage counselor, Modi shut him down harder than an Indian mom shutting down a kid asking for McDonald's at midnight. Trump, of course, did not take that well. He was already fuming, so he whipped out his favorite weapon, the trade war card. He ranted about how India was flooding American markets, slapping high tariffs, and declared trade with India has been a one-sided disaster. And just like that, the bromance that once gave us awkward handshakes and long bear hugs turned into the world's pettiest breakup. Somebody call Netflix, because this is basically When Besties Go Bad, Trump and Modi edition.
Seems to have driven India into the bosom of this new world order. How do you see it from India's perspective?
Piers, I would agree that the unipolar moment is over, but I think Donald Trump has not got the memo. He is still behaving like he's the feudal warlord of the world, that he can wag his fingers at other sovereign nations tell them to sit up, stand up, do push-ups, there's a good boy, and if they don't, they will be punished. From the Indian perspective, Trump's decision to impose a penalty of an additional 25% on India for its purchase of Russian oil is basically seen by Indians as an affront to our sovereignty. India's ambassador to Moscow has made it clear that we as a country will buy oil where we get the best deal. To top it all, America's staggering hypocrisy is on full display. Let me just share a couple of data points with you. The Americans, and I don't know how many American people know this, America continues to import fertilizers, palladium, uranium from Russia. Between January and May, the import of palladium and uranium respectively has gone up by 37% and 28%. The European Union is buying refined oil from India, that it's, India is purchasing crude from Russia, refining it, and the European Union is buying it up to $15 billion worth of oil imports. And guess what? Alongside all of this, India was also the largest supply of diesel to guess which country? Ukraine in July. I think what India is trying to say to Trump with those images in China is, Donald Trump, India has options, and you're not our schoolyard bully anymore, or never were.
Right.
Some global reactions. China slams U.S. tariffs on India.
News: China slams US tariffs on India as unfair and unreasonable. Envoy urges India-China to scale up economic cooperation. Washington using tariffs as a weapon to pressure countries. Xi-Modi consensus highlights mutual support and success. India and China described as victims of terrorism. Beijing ready to work with India on global security initiative. China also invites more Indian companies to invest in its market. Over 240,000 visas issued to Indians by Chinese missions this year.
ये क्या हो रहा है? अरे ये क्या हो रहा है? ये क्या हो रहा है? अरे ये क्या हो रहा है भाई?
America's coffee headed to Russia? Trump faces heat as this Asian nation to cut supply over tariffs. Laos has openly signaled it may reroute coffee exports from the American market to Russia in response to steep tariffs. Speaking on the sidelines of the Eastern Economic Forum on September 5, Laotian Prime Minister Sonexay Siphandone said agricultural goods, particularly coffee, could be redirected to Moscow. His comments come after Donald Trump imposed a 40% levy on Laos in August as part of a sweeping tariff campaign aimed at fixing unfair trade imbalances. The move has rattled top coffee exporters worldwide. Brazil, which produces 37% of global coffee, was hit with a 50% U.S. tariff, while Vietnam, the second largest producer, faces 20%. The International Coffee Organization reports prices have already spiked due to poor harvests and market disruptions. Experts warn America's favorite beverage could become costlier as coffee flows increasingly shift toward Russia and China, weakening U.S. supply lines.
In a significant move to strengthen their relationship, India and the European Union are poised to deepen their engagement this week. This follows a period of heightened diplomatic activity, including External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar's visit to Brussels and a visit by the European delegation led by President Ursula to India. This week, European Commissioner for Agriculture and Food Christopher Hansen and Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security will arrive in New Delhi, coinciding with 13th round of FTA talks, and both the sides are working to finalize the agreement by the end of the year.
Amid Trump tariffs, big win for India. EU approves 102 Indian marine establishments for exports, to boost seafood trade and deliver an immediate 20% boost to shipments. In a major development for India's seafood industry, the European Union has approved 102 more marine establishments for exports. This can benefit the seafood industry and deliver an immediate 20% boost to shipments to the region, according to a report by ANI citing government officials. The clearance comes at a crucial time when India's seafood exports to the EU reached $1.1 billion in FY24. After this approval, a total of 604 Indian establishments are now registered with the EU. India and Gulf.
From oil to engineering goods,
the Gulf is brimming with opportunities. And with Trump's new tariffs hitting Indian exports, New Delhi is wasting no time. It's now deepening ties with the Middle East, and at the center of it all is a potential Doha-Delhi trade pact, set to reshape how India does business beyond U.S. shores. Let's unpack how Trump's tariffs have nudged India closer to Middle East trade, led by its fast-developing free trade engagements with the UAE and soon Qatar. Trump doubled U.S. duties on key Indian exports, from textiles to machinery, as a response to India's continued oil imports from Russia. Analysts estimate this could hit nearly 55% of India's $87 billion of exports to the U.S., threatening growth. That's a harsh blow to manufacturers and exporters who've spent years building their U.S. businesses. So India is acting fast. India already has a strong India-UAE trade partnership under SEPA, effective May 2022. Thanks to it, bilateral trade grew from $73 billion in FY 2022 to over $100 billion in FY 2025, making the UAE one of India's top trading partners. Crucially, non-oil trade between India and the UAE hit $65 billion in 2024, up nearly 20% year-on-year, and the target is to hit $100 billion annually by 2030. This isn't just traditional goods like gems and textiles. The UAE is now eyeing Indian strength in digital technologies, renewable energy, agritech, logistics, healthcare, and fintech. There's more than just trade. A new India startup hub launched in Sharjah, courtesy of a memorandum of understanding between Shara and Startup Middle East. It's a sign that the Gulf Corridor isn't just for goods, but also for innovation and startup ambition.
World leaders face pressure in their countries. Geert Wilders versus Zelensky. $500 million to Ukraine ignites political firestorm in Netherlands. Geert Wilders, leader of the right-wing Party for Freedom, PVV, launched his national campaign in Venlo ahead of the October 29 general elections, drawing supporters who praised his hardline stance on immigration in opposition to Dutch financial and military aid for Ukraine. Former Asylum and Migration Minister Marjolein Faber appeared at the event to show her support. While PVV currently leads the polls, coalition challenges remain as most parties reject governing with Wilders despite public frustration over rising living costs and aid commitments abroad.
The people and children, it's poor children, you have no food. I will give every money to the Ukraine. This must stop. You know, in Germany and Netherlands, wherever.
Scared of Putin, huge protest in France against sending army to Ukraine, Macron faces Frexit call. The protest was called by the leader of the Patriots Party, Florian Philippot, Vieri. Protesters called for President Macron's resignation and France to leave EU and NATO blocs.
Ourselves in the foot. No, we'll defend the interests of the European oligarchy, the personal interests of Macron and von der Leyen. We must ensure that there are no French troops in Ukraine. That's the #1 objective. Putin warned that if there are French troops there, they will be prime targets, and so there is a danger for our soldiers. There is a danger of going to war, and I believe that the French would not understand if we went to war over Ukraine when we have nothing to do with this whole affair. Regarding Ukraine, we should stop sending weapons and money, and we should not send soldiers. That's the first decision to make. There are many decisions to make, but regarding Ukraine, that would be the first to make. Then we should start, France's exit from the European Union, which is a real issue and a central issue. Macron has betrayed France all his life, even before he became President of the Republic by already selling Alstom. He has always betrayed France. There are plenty of examples when he wants to give our nuclear deterrent to the European Union, to Germany. That is a supreme betrayal. We must leave the European Union and leave NATO. It is the only real, true break necessary to prevent war and move towards peace. Free France for peace goes together. Free France and peace. There is no other solution.
France's parliament ousted the government of Prime Minister François Bayrou after just 9 months in office, leaving President Emmanuel Macron scrambling to find a successor and plunging the country into a new political crisis.
Well, a massive political crisis is unfolding in France. The Prime Minister of France, François Bayrou, he is set to resign. In fact, marking the collapse of the President Emmanuel Macron's government. Yet again, this is the fourth Prime Minister that Macron has lost in just 20 months and the second government collapse in less than a year. The entire turmoil, it raises serious questions about Macron's authority, his ability to govern with a fractured parliament, and the stability of France at a time of economic strain and far-right resurgence in the country.
Ukraine's desertions skyrocket. Kiev's 140,000 troops vanish as Russia deploys 700,000 strong army. Ukraine's military is facing a deepening crisis, with reports of mass desertions compounding battlefield losses. According to Ukraine's State Bureau of Investigation, more than 138,000 soldiers have abandoned their units in 2025, including over 13,000 in August alone. Only about 28,000 have voluntarily returned, while desertion and unauthorized departures continue at a pace of 17,000 to 18,000 cases per month. Although Ukraine mobilizes roughly 20,000 conscripts monthly, the influx barely balances the scale of departures. Desertion remains a criminal offense under Ukrainian law, punishable by imprisonment, while temporary unauthorized absence carries fines. The crisis comes as Kiev acknowledges Russia has deployed around 700,000 troops in Ukraine, including special forces and National Guards, primarily in Donetsk. Despite fielding nearly 900,000 service members, Ukraine admits Moscow still holds numerical advantages in key sectors. Meanwhile, President Zelensky has urged Western allies to consider troop deployments, a move European leaders say will only follow the war's end. Putin turns Western exit into billion-dollar win? Moscow demands heavy price from firms' re-entry. Putin promises tough road back for Western businesses that slammed door defiantly on Russia. The Kremlin has laid out tough, costly conditions for Western companies seeking to re-enter Russia, with officials making clear there will be no way back for firms that supported the Ukrainian military or abandoned obligations to Russian employees. Companies are welcome if they didn't aid Ukraine, but will face steep financial and operational barriers, complicated buyback processes, and a changed regulatory landscape. Hundreds of Western firms have exited Russia since Moscow sent tens of thousands of troops into Ukraine in February 2022. Western companies that slammed the door defiantly when they left Russia will not be allowed to buy back the businesses they quit for small amounts of money or fill niches that local businesses have taken, President Vladimir Putin said on Tuesday. If the niche of a Western company is already filled by a Russian business, then, as we say, the train has left, Putin said. Putin said he respected businesses that had continued to work with Russia, but held a different view for those that had slammed the door defiantly when exiting. Companies that left under domestic political pressure and sold their assets at a throwaway price should not be allowed to repurchase for the same small sum, Putin said. Keir Starmer's problems multiply after deputy's downfall. Angela Rayner's departure triggers cabinet reshuffle and potentially bloody deputy Labour leader contest.
A political crisis for the UK Prime Minister, reshuffling his cabinet after his deputy quit for not paying enough tax. He's under attack too from the right-wing Reform UK party over migration. A year after a landslide election win.
Keir Starmer under fire for housing migrants in barracks on former military bases.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has come up with a lucrative idea on where to house illegal migrants who have, until now, been staying in asylum seeker hotels. His plan, instead of deporting them, he's going to move them into barracks on former military bases.
Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba resigns.
To Japan now, where Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has just announced he is stepping down after less than a year in office. The decision follows successive election setbacks for the governing Liberal Democratic Party, including a loss of the parliamentary majority during a vote in July. The LDP is due to hold party leadership elections on Monday.
The resignation of Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba comes after his ruling LDP party and their coalition partners lost their majority in upper house elections. The result reflected a general dissatisfaction with the existing political establishment and its inability to tackle the cost of living crisis and wage levels.
Trouble in U.S. Is the President of the United States threatening to go to war with an American city? President Donald Trump appeared to threaten the city of Chicago with deportations on a post on Truth Social in which he used an AI-generated parody of a war movie. Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War. He then included an AI-generated image of him dressed in a uniform labeled U.S. Army, much like the character played by Robert Duvall in the 1979 movie Apocalypse Now, a fictional story about soldiers in the Vietnam War. In the image, the words Chipocalypse Now are also seen in the font used on the Apocalypse Now movie poster. The president also mentioned the Department of War, which he recently ordered renamed from the Department of Defense. Senator Dick Durbin, Democrat Illinois, decried the post on Saturday during remarks before a parade in Chicago's Pilsen neighborhood. This tweet this morning was disgusting, to suggest that the troops are coming into Chicago or that the Department of War is going to be engaged is an embarrassment. Governor J.B. Pritzker also criticized the post on X. The President of the United States is threatening to go to war with an American city. This is not a joke. This is not normal. Donald Trump isn't a strong man, he's a scared man. Illinois won't be intimidated by a wannabe dictator.
Shock in the US after a prominent right-wing activist, Charlie Kirk, was shot dead while addressing students on a campus in Utah. Video footage showed Mr. Kirk, a close ally of Donald Trump, speaking and then slumping down in his seat. Charlie Kirk was credited with persuading young voters to support Donald Trump ahead of his election and was known to be close to the president and his family. In the last few minutes, Mr. Trump took to social media to confirm that Mr. Kirk has died.
Amidst all this chaos, there are signs of India-US bilateral trade agreement, BTA, restart soon? India-US bilateral trade agreement, BTA, soon? India-US bilateral trade agreement, BTA, soon? After a period of trade-related tensions, Donald Trump has stated that trade talks with India are still on and that he will speak to good friend Prime Minister Modi in the next few weeks. This marks a softening of tone from the United States, following a massive tug-of-war over tariffs. Trump's latest statement suggests there won't be difficulty between India and the United States of America. The shift is seen as a positive development, leveraging the personal rapport between the two leaders to move forward. Back-channel talks are reportedly underway as both nations engage to find a resolution. On the Indian side, there is an objective to sign a bilateral trade agreement, BTA, by November of this year. I am pleased to announce that India and the United States of America are continuing negotiations to address the trade barriers between our two nations. I look forward to speaking with my very good friend, Prime Minister Modi, in the upcoming weeks. I feel certain that there will be no difficulty in coming to a successful conclusion for both of our great countries.
You are watching Sanglikar's Weekly.
India-US trade deal. PM Modi reciprocates, as Trump says India-US trade talks to resume at the earliest. In a significant step toward easing India-US tensions, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday said teams from New Delhi and Washington were working to conclude their trade negotiation at the earliest. Replying to Donald Trump's post on trade talks on X, the Prime Minister said he was looking forward to speaking with the U.S. President. U.S. President Donald Trump says, India and U.S. are continuing negotiations to address the trade barriers between our two nations. PM Narendra Modi adds, confident that our trade negotiations will pave the way for unlocking the limitless potential of the India-US partnership. PM Modi and President Trump exchanged tweets confirming that trade negotiations are ongoing, with both leaders looking forward to the upcoming talks.
You are watching Sanglikars Weekly.
More of U.S. news.
Trump is the Hitler of our time! Free DC! Free Palestine! Trump is the Hitler of our time! Free DC! Free Palestine! Trump is the Hitler of our time! Free DC! Free Palestine! Trump is the Hitler of our time! What do you want your legacy to be? Let's go. What do you want your legacy to be? He's terrorizing communities in DC.
Time to go.
He's terrorizing communities
Time to
all
go.
over the world.
Time to go.
From Puerto Rico.
Let's go.
Free DC. Free Palestine. Trump is the Hitler of our time.
Sergio Gore, President Trump's pick as the next U.S. ambassador to India, called India a vital strategic partner whose trajectory will shape the region. He pledged to make India align closer with Washington and away from Beijing, pressed New Delhi to stop Russian oil imports, and underlined Trump's unique friendship with PM Modi as the cornerstone of future U.S.-India cooperation. He also added that though President Trump is critical of India, he has always gone out of the way to appreciate PM Modi. Trump's U.S. ambassador to India nominee makes big statements. Sergio Gore's big statement. India must be pulled to our side, away from China. U.S. envoy nominee cites Trump-Modi unique friendship. But, is it not India-U.S. friendship more relevant? Like a political analyst said, Epstein cover-up is an affront to U.S. democracy. Wrong. U.S. has monarchy. Monarch can do no wrong.
Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. So now all of a sudden, the Republicans who were so aggressively intent on releasing the Epstein files because they were going to be a huge, explosive story about Democrats involved with Jeffrey Epstein are quiet. So the irony of these Republicans accusing the Democrats now of only being interested in this is for political purposes is so thick that it is almost sucking us into the quicksand. But let's go a step further. Let's go a step further. Because now the cover-up is getting so deep and so intense that this committee, which has oversight over the Department of Justice and would ordinarily be the one that is doing this investigation, is running away from it. Why? Because Chairman Comer is the useful idiot who will do the cover-up for Donald Trump.
Like, Charlie Kirk, a die-hard Trump supporter, was shot dead at Utah University. That is gun culture of USA. U.S. Supreme Court says gun culture is an integral part of American culture. Cowboy culture?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
This was the shot that claimed the life of Charlie Kirk.
Oh my God. Go, run. Where is he?
Sparking pandemonium on a college campus where he'd been speaking.
Apparently there's been a shooting. I don't know who's been shot.
Hundreds fled in terror.
Oh my gosh!
A single shot thought to have been fired from a rooftop by someone in dark clothing.
Oh my gosh!
Amid the panic, a body carried from the scene.
Stop, folks! Stop!
The high-profile conservative influencer had just answered a question about gun violence in America when he became its latest victim.
Like, Beth Ayres, a Musk supporter, likened Charlie Kirk to Hitler and posted, "Rest in piss message for Kirk. That is US culture for you." An ex-user shared a screenshot of a Facebook post by a user claiming to be a Tesla executive, comparing Donald Trump ally Charlie Kirk with Adolf Hitler, following Kirk's assassination. "Rest in piss Charlie Kirk." Beth Ayres, the Facebook post read. Replying to the ex-user, Tesla CEO Elon Musk said, "This person isn't currently employed by Tesla." Like, I am glad at least Musk has reiterated that OpenAI's Suchir Balaji was murdered. It is a pity that Usha Vance, who also hails from Andhra, is doing nothing about it.
Suchir Balaji's story was supposed to be one of triumph. A young boy genius working at OpenAI trying to shape the future of artificial intelligence, yet his life ended in tragedy. Dead at the age of 26 in his San Francisco apartment. The police said it was suicide, but Balaji's parents disagree. They say he was killed. After all, Suchir Balaji was the whistleblower who exposed OpenAI. So what exactly happened here? Was this suicide or murder? And why is Elon Musk asking for an FBI investigation? Let's start with Suchir Balaji's story. He was born in 1998 to tech-savvy parents in California. His parents knew that he was different, but soon it became clear that he was a prodigy. He started coding when he was just 11 years old. By age 13, he built his first computer. At 17, he was recruited by Quora. And so his meteoric rise continued. Balaji landed at UC Berkeley. There he won accolades for his groundbreaking algorithms. In 2018, he joined OpenAI as an intern. The company was a non-profit at that time, and its goal was quite clear: to ensure that AI benefits humanity. That's what OpenAI was about. And Balaji believed in that dream. He spent the next 4 years working towards it. But things changed in 2022. That's when ChatGPT was launched. It became extremely popular. OpenAI shifted towards profit. And Balaji's ideals clashed with the company's future path. There were multiple ethical questions, especially on how AI is trained. Balaji began to see the cracks. He believed that AI was harming humanity. So in August 2024, he left OpenAI, but the idea kept haunting him. And in October, he went public. In an interview to the New York Times, Balaji spoke out. He talked about OpenAI's information gathering practices, about how the company violated copyright laws. He said ChatGPT was damaging the internet. And with this, Suchir Balaji became the OpenAI whistleblower. He then went about his business. OpenAI kept working on new models. Balaji turned to new projects. He was planning a non-profit for medical AI. So everything seemed fine, basically, after that interview. But then things changed in November. On November 21st, Balaji celebrated his 26th birthday. He spoke to his parents. He talked about flying back home. And then he went MIA, missing in action. He did not answer calls. His mother went and knocked on his door. No one answered, so she got worried. She called the San Francisco police. They entered the apartment and they found his body there. The police later said that Balaji had died by suicide, but his parents were not convinced. So they arranged for a private autopsy. And the results were atypical. So they began to suspect foul play. Balaji's parents say that his apartment was ransacked, that there were signs of struggle. His mother has posted about it on X. And let me quote from what she said. "It's a cold-blooded murder declared by authorities as suicide. Lobbying in SF City does not stop us from getting justices. We demand FBI investigation." So the family are now calling for an FBI investigation, and they found a backer in Elon Musk. He too is asking for a probe. What about OpenAI? What have they said? When Suchir died, the company said they were devastated, but they haven't said anything since then. Balaji's parents too have not mentioned OpenAI. They say that they're not pointing any fingers. But it inevitably raises questions. Did Balaji lose his life for speaking out? You see, being a whistleblower is not just courageous, it's also very dangerous. Speaking out against powerful entities comes with risks. There can be lawsuits, financial trouble. Whistleblowers can lose friends, they can be called traitors, and when there's big money at stake, the risk escalates. We've seen quite a few examples across the world. But Balaji's case could take a different turn, and that's because of Elon Musk. He already has an axe to grind with OpenAI. Elon Musk and Sam Altman co-founded OpenAI in 2015. Musk left the organization 6 years ago, but he hasn't stopped questioning it since. He's raised concerns over direction, leadership, and profitability. He's also dragged OpenAI to court, so Elon Musk is likely to capitalize on this case. He already says it does not look like a suicide. Elon Musk has the power to push this forward. After all, he has the US president-elect's ear. As for the case, we cannot say if it was indeed suicide or murder. That's for the American police to find out. But we do agree that it needs a wider probe, because when billions of dollars hang in the balance, speaking out can be a matter of life and death.
You are watching Sanglikars Weekly.
The world for us. Like upheaval in Nepal saw a regime change. Nepal witnessed unprecedented violence and chaos. Agitators burnt down Parliament House and even SC. They even burnt alive ex-PM's wife. Retired Chief Justice Sushila Karki has taken over as interim PM. Looks like a foreign hand was behind the regime change. Agree? Horror in Nepal. After Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, Nepal is witnessing its worst political unrest in years as Gen Z-led protests, triggered by a controversial social media ban, and deep-rooted anger over corruption. This forced Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli to resign.
Gen Z protesters, enraged by the repressive actions of the KP Sharma Oli regime, set fire to government buildings, offices of major political parties, and the homes and offices of top political functionaries, including several former prime ministers on Tuesday. Several ministers and politicians were attacked and injured by protesters who defied a curfew and roamed the streets of Kathmandu and some other cities in Nepal. Protesters, some of whom were seen carrying weapons, went on the rampage against prominent political figures and buildings and symbols of government. They burnt or vandalized the residences of at least 5 former prime ministers: Oli, Pushp Kamal Bahal Prachand, Madhav Kumar Nepal, Jhalanath Khanal, and Sher Bahadur Dyoba. Some of them were roughed up before they could be rescued by the army. Rajya Lakshmi Chitrakar, the wife of former PM Kamal, died after suffering serious burns when their house in Kathmandu was torched. Dyoba and his wife Arzu Dyoba, who is Nepal's Minister for Foreign Affairs, were assaulted, and the former Prime Minister sustained serious injuries. Finance Minister Bishnu Prasad Paudel and Member of Parliament Eknath Dhakal, both of whom are close to Oli, were stripped and paraded. Arzu Dyoba's house in western Nepal's Dhangadi and Prachanda's residence in Chitwan were razed to the ground. The protesters also set ablaze Nakku Central Jail in Lalitpur in the Kathmandu Valley and set free Rabi Lamichne, chief of the Rashtriya Swatantra Party and a powerful critique of Oli, who was imprisoned there. Nepal's army said it would take charge of security operations from Tuesday evening and appealed to the public to cooperate with the forces. It is unlikely that the army will step into a direct political role. However, it will probably have to take the responsibility of facilitating dialogues among the political players, along with maintaining peace and tranquility in the absence of the government. India will be deeply concerned as its next door neighbor burns, but it will find itself facing a delicate situation as it is seen as being aligned more closely with some sides of Nepal's body politic. India lost its traditional goodwill with the monarchy and the Nepali Congress when it led the international initiative to abolish the monarchy and bring the Maoists to the center stage of Nepali politics. Late on Tuesday evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a meeting of India's Cabinet Committee on Security, which discussed the developments in Nepal.
Shiv Sena, UBT, leader Sanjay Raut took aim at PM Modi and BJP while commenting on the political turmoil in neighboring Nepal. Nepal PM KP Sharma Oli resigned following violent protests against a social media ban and corruption. Raut shared a video of arson and street unrest from Kathmandu and wrote Nepal today, this situation can arise in any country. Beware. His comments came hours after Ali stepped down in the wake of massive youth-led demonstrations that turned violent. The protests, sparked by a controversial decision to block social media platforms, soon escalated into broader anger over government corruption and nepotism. Former Chief Justice of Nepal, Sushila Karki, Nepal's first female head of the judiciary, is set to lead the interim government in Nepal.
Amid the sweeping Gen Z protests that brought down Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, Nepal is set to see a historic transition. Former Chief Justice of Nepal, Sushila Karki, the country's first female head of the judiciary, is poised to lead the interim government. Chosen by the youth-led protest movement to head the transitional administration, Karki expressed humility at the trust placed in her. Karki said, I studied in the Banaras Hindu University. I have many friends in India. I still remember my teachers in BHU. The relationship with India is very good and it goes back many years. India has helped Nepal a lot. Indians always wish well for Nepal. Furthermore, the former Chief Justice stated, I am very much impressed with Indian leaders. Indian friends treat me as a sister. मैं मोदी जी को नमस्कार करती हूँ, meaning I pay my regards to Modi. I have a good impression of Modi ji. Acknowledging the responsibility now resting on her shoulders after the demonstrations that ended Oli's tenure, she said, I feel humbled by the faith of the youth.
Israel targets Hamas leadership in Qatar strike. Israel carried out an unprecedented attack against Hamas leadership in the capital of Qatar, which has been a key mediator in Gaza ceasefire talks, putting hostage negotiations at risk. Hamas said the strike killed 5 members, but failed to assassinate the negotiating delegation. A Qatari security official also died in the strike. U.S. President Donald Trump expressed displeasure about the attack. I'm not thrilled about the whole situation. It's not a good situation, he said. Qatar's prime minister was visibly angry as he described the strike as state terrorism.
Israel is claiming responsibility for airstrikes in Qatar, targeting top Hamas leaders in Doha, including the organization's Gaza chief. Witnesses described several blasts and smoke rising over Doha's Qatar district. Qatar, a key mediator in ceasefire talks in Gaza, condemned what it called a cowardly Israeli attack on its soil and a violation of international law.
هذا الاعتداء الإجرامي انتهاكا صارخا لكافة القوانين والأعراف الدولية وتهديدا خطيرا لأمن وسلامة القطريين والمقيمين في دولة قطر.
UN sermonizes.
We are just learning about the Israeli attacks in Qatar, a country that has been playing a very positive role to achieve a ceasefire and release of all hostages. I condemn this flagrant violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Qatar. All parties must work towards achieving a permanent ceasefire, not destroying it.
Israel PM issues statement.
At noon today, I convened the heads of Israel's security organizations and authorized a surgical precision strike on the terrorist chiefs of Hamas. These are the same terrorist chiefs who planned, launched, and celebrated the horrific massacres of October 7th. At the beginning of the war, I promised that Israel would reach those who perpetrated this horror. And today, Israel and I have kept that promise.
UN states its wish.
Unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. President Trump immediately directed Special Envoy Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did. The president views Qatar as a strong ally and friend of the United States and feels very badly about the location of this attack. President Trump wants all of the hostages in Gaza and the bodies of the dead released, and this war to end now. President Trump believes this unfortunate incident could serve as an opportunity for peace.
Israeli airstrikes killed any hope for hostages in Gaza, says Qatari Prime Minister. Hamas says Israeli strike on Doha was assassination of the entire negotiation process. What next? What next? Slap in the face. South Korea is angry at Trump. South Korea is angry after ICE arrested more than 300 of its workers at a Hyundai LG plant under construction in Georgia. The immigration raid on a Hyundai LG battery factory in Georgia has sent shock waves across South Korea. "We spend a lot of money in the United States and we get slapped in the face," said Choi Jong-gun, former vice foreign minister. This case comes just a few weeks after a mega trade agreement in which Seoul pledged to invest $350 billion in the United States in return for a 15% tariff.
Hundreds of South Korean nationals were taken into custody during a U.S. immigration raid. They flew back to Seoul on a South Korean government chartered flight, despite growing tensions over how the incident might affect future economic cooperation between the two countries. Well, the group forms part of 475 people taken into custody on September 4th, when U.S. immigration and federal agents carried out a large-scale raid at the construction site in the town of Elabel, Georgia. The site is a joint venture between Hyundai and LG Energy Solution, where the companies are building one of the largest electric vehicle battery plants in the United States. According to U.S. officials, the individuals detained had been living or working in the country without legal documentation. The sudden arrest created waves of concern in South Korea, which had invested heavily in the U.S. economy and now questions whether such incidents could damage the stability of future business commitments. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung has stated that a massive U.S. immigration raid on a Hyundai LG battery factory site could have a chilling effect on future investment.
You are watching Sanglikars Weekly.
And what is called Bojo Files is likely to haunt Boris Johnson, ex-PM of UK.
A vast trove of leaked documents from Boris Johnson's private office obtained by The Guardian has shed light on how the former British Prime Minister has parlayed his political contacts and influence into a lucrative post-Downing Street career, raising fresh questions about lobbying rules, ethics, and the use of taxpayer-funded allowances. The files, more than 1,800 in total, including emails, contracts, letters, invoices, and even drafts of speeches, were obtained by Distributed Denial of Secrets, DDoS, a US-based non-profit that archives leaked material. The Guardian is the only UK media organisation known to have reviewed them. The cache covers the period between Johnson's departure from office in September 2022 and mid-2024, though it also contains documents from his premiership. At the heart of the revelations is the Office of Boris Johnson, a limited company established just weeks after his resignation. The documents suggest that this vehicle has been used to coordinate a series of highly paid business ventures, many of which appear to blur the lines between public duty and private gain. Paid speeches and private deals. The documents show Johnson was paid about £5.1 million for 34 speaking engagements between October 2022 and May 2024, with each event earning him hundreds of thousands of pounds plus first-class flights and five-star hotel stays. These lucrative appearances, with media organisations such as the Daily Mail and GB News among his partners, cement his place among the world's highest-paid political speakers.
Like Asim Malhotra, a British cardiologist, created a flutter by claiming that King Charles and Kate Middleton contracted cancer because of COVID vaccine. True?
Dr. Asim Malhotra, an advisor to Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s Maha Action activist group, alleges that the COVID-19 vaccine caused King Charles and Kate Middleton to develop cancer. Malhotra, a cardiologist, is scheduled to speak at the Reform Conference in Birmingham, England, on Saturday, September 6, where he will outline his claims regarding the royal couple's cancer diagnoses announced in 2024.
Like ex-Brazilian President, Bolsonaro was sentenced to 27 years in jail by Supreme Court. It was a split decision.
27 years and 3 months. That's the jail sentence that this Brazilian Supreme Court has given former President Jair Bolsonaro, the first ever Brazilian president to be convicted in a coup trial.
Mas eu tenho por comprovado pela Procuradoria-Geral da República que Jair Messias Bolsonaro praticou os crimes que são imputados a ele na condição de líder da organização criminosa.
Journalists from all over the world are following this trial with a lot of attention, as is the White House. U.S. President Donald Trump has already said he's not pleased with the result.
Well, I watched that trial. I know him pretty well. Foreign leader. I thought he was a good president of Brazil. And it's very surprising that could happen. That's very much like they tried to do with me, but they didn't get away with it at all.
Like, reports of China plotting a bloodless coup in Taiwan are disturbing. Money power can do anything. China-Taiwan War, countdown begins? Taiwan detects Chinese military activity near its territory. Taiwan has detected heightened Chinese military activity near its territorial waters. 31 sorties of PLA aircraft, 13 planned vessels and 3 official ships operating around Taiwan were detected on September 13. According to Taiwan's defense ministry, 25 sorties crossed the median line and entered Taiwan's northern and eastern ADIZ. Like in commerce, did you notice that Oracle founder Ellison has become the richest man in the world, pipping Elon Musk? Some attribute Ellison's rise to his proximity to Trump.
Oracle Larry Ellison is now the richest person in the world. Bloomberg is reporting that today Ellison's wealth hit nearly $400 billion. That is more than Elon Musk, who previously held the top spot with $385 billion.
And finally, there is good news for Mumbai. All 5 lakes supplying water to Mumbai. And 5 lack of potholes on roads are overflowing.
Why are there not more people talking about this amazing news? Mumbai's water supply is about to hit an all-time high. Thanks to heavy monsoon rains, Mumbai's 7 reservoirs are nearly full, reaching an incredible 98% capacity. We're talking Middle Vaitana, Vaihar, Modak Sagar and more, all brimming with water. This means over 14 billion litres of water are now secured for the city. No more stressing over summer shortages, folks. The Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation has confirmed that Tanza Lake, a key source, has also seen significant boosts. So with the monsoon still in play, our water security is looking rock solid. Cheers to a hydrated and happy Mumbai. Stay cool, stay refreshed, and enjoy the overflow. Don't forget to share this good news.
Lazy Bee. September 13, 2025.